At the Heschel School, Thursday, October 3rd, 2019. Not really.
Not really? I'll speak loudly. I'm never going to keep
Into a microphone. Into a microphone.
Instead of extend it forward.
Yes.
Careful, I just turned it off.
Is there a table mic? Oh.
I'm standing, and I'm speaking to the microphone. So let me know if you can hear. I'm not going to stand through the entire debate. I just want to start by thanking the Heschel School for hosting this evening.
The other microphones need to be turned off for feedback.
Okay, now is it better? I'm farther away from the other microphones.
Go ahead, keep talking.
Okay. I want to start by thanking the Heschel School for hosting this evening's debate. And I want to just briefly go over a few rules of decorum and the format for the debate. A reasonable decorum will be expected by all of the guests and candidates to ensure a fair and equitable discussion. If anyone acts out of line and fails to maintain a reasonable decorum, they will be asked to leave the event immediately. The security and respect of candidates and all of our guests is taken very seriously. And we also ask the candidates to respect each other by not speaking over one another and speaking to each other in a civilized manner. I have no concerns that that won't happen, having just spent the last few minutes sitting between the two of them. In addition, there is no tolerance for hate speech or personal attacks towards candidates or other participants. In a debate, disagreement is inevitable, and healthy discourse is encouraged. However, our debate is tightly structured for verbal discussions between candidates and the community. There is no campaign-related information that can be passed out inside of the debate room, and no campaign-related buttons, banners, or posters are allowed in the debate room, because this is a nonpartisan event. And finally, I'll ask all of you to withhold all applause during the debate. So now the format of the debate, so you know what's going to happen for the next hour or hour and a half. This debate is one of the 100 Debates Project, which is a national nonpartisan initiative focused on bringing voters together at the riding level to hear candidates' best policy proposals for the environment. To begin with, each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves. We do have a timer, Kareem, who will hold up when there's 1 minute left and when the time is up. There are also 4 preset questions that I will ask. These are questions being asked in each of the 100 debates going on tonight and some that took place last night. After each question is posed, the candidate will have an opportunity to provide their answer. There will then be an opportunity for questions from the audience. Audience members can write their questions on the cards that were provided to you when you came in. If you need a card, please raise your hand and a volunteer will be available to provide them to you. A volunteer will collect the cards, and I will read as many the questions as we have time for to the candidates, giving each of them an opportunity to respond. Only those questions relevant to tonight's topic will be asked. The candidates will then each have an opportunity to present their closing remarks. I'm going to just briefly introduce each of the candidates. Michael Levitt from the Liberal Party is a first-generation Canadian. Michael immigrated to Canada from Scotland with his mother at age 13. He received a bachelor's degree in political science from McGill University and earned a master's degree in science and technology studies from the University of Edinburgh. In Parliament, Michael serves as the chair of the House Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development, after previously serving as the chair of the Subcommittee on International Human Rights. He is an active advocate for the plight of political prisoners, human rights defenders, and persecuted minorities around the world. Michael is also the chair of the Canada-Israel Interparliamentary Friendship Group. He is a founding member of the Canadian Jewish Political Affairs Committee, a multi-partisan organization dedicated to activating the grassroots Jewish community in the political process, and has been an active volunteer with numerous nonprofits and charities. Michael has served as a board member of the Kaufler Center for the Arts, Mount Sinai Hospital, and many other organizations. Michael is married to Barbie and is the father of 2 teenage children, Casey and Jessica. Andrea Vásquez Jiménez from the New Democratic Party is the candidate for York Centre in the upcoming federal elections and has been endorsed as a Green New Deal champion by Our Time 2019. She is an Afro-Latina born in Toronto to Colombian parents who immigrated to this country. Andrea is a community educator, organizer, and activist. She is a co-founder and the co-director of the Toronto-based community-led organization LATN, the Latinx Afro-Latin America Habla Yala Education Network. Andrea is a student finishing off her master's degree in the Social Justice Education Program at the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education at the University of Toronto. She was previously employed at the Toronto District School Board as a Student Equity Program Advisor, where she worked alongside students, educators, staff, administration, and community members to push for transformative school culture shifts to ensure healthy and equitable spaces that challenge and seek to dismantle racism, anti-Black racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, sexism, sizeism, ableism, classism, homophobia, transphobia, ageism, xenophobia, and much more. The Conservative candidate for York Centre, Rachel Wilson, declined to participate this evening and is not here. The Green candidate was unknown at the time of the organization of this event, and there's now a new candidate, Rebecca Wood, who is not able to attend tonight. However, Ms. Wood has asked that the following statement be read. This election is a turning point for Canada. We don't have another 4 years to make meaningful contributions towards averting climate change. We need to start acting now. The Green Party has drafted truly forward-thinking policy to address both the economy and the environment. Rather than putting these issues at odds, the Green Party will leverage renewable energy, energy efficiency, and ecological restoration into jobs and ensure no Canadians are left behind as we transition towards a zero-carbon society by 2050. So now, to the reason you all came to make the debate. I'll begin with each question, with an introduction to each question, and then pose the question to each candidate. Pardon me. I apologize. I've already messed up my own schedule. Each candidate is going to have an opportunity to introduce themselves. Are any of those microphones working?
Well, we're going to get them on right now, so we just want to sort of do a little test. So if you guys can speak into them, we're going to get them to the right level and then make it life easier on everyone for the rest of the debate. So Michael, do you want to?
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Okay. We're good. Andrea?
Hello? Hello? Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and have an opening statement. Andrea will be going first.
Hi everyone. So when we talk about tackling climate change, we cannot forget that climate justice is intersectional. That it is about Indigenous rights. It's about two-spirited LGBTQIA+ rights. It's about economic justice, racial justice, microjustice, and much more. These are interconnected issues. They are not separate. As Audre Lorde, a Black revolutionary feminist and academic, states, there is no such thing as a single issue struggle, because we do not lead single issue lives. And this is reminiscent that our movements cannot be single issues and are not single issues. We must take an approach, and the NDP tackles the multiple intersectional issues and understands the human dimension that must be centered when we speak about climate justice. Governments have a moral imperative to create the conditions where each and every one of us can live and thrive. We have a broken system, and we need to ensure that a Green New Deal, a bold Green New Deal, leaves no one behind. We can push forward to a carbon-free economy with a just and transformative support for workers and communities that centers Indigenous rights, that pushes for fair, free public transit, that pushes for public nonprofit childcare, that pushes where each and every one of our conditions is covered. Ultimately, we need a government that is bold, that is transformative, and that has the political will and the moral compass to make the decisions so that communities, people, and the planet is taken care of, and that profit and corporations and the super wealthy are not put ahead of that.
Well, first of all, I want to just thank Heschel and McDavid, and of course everybody at GreenPAC, Aaron Freeman, and all the folks at GreenPAC, for putting on other debates across the country. Obviously, there is no bigger issue in this election than climate change. And I also want to acknowledge the presence of Andrea, who's here on behalf of the NDP. I know we have a new Green candidate in the riding who wasn't able to attend. And I just want to acknowledge their input and their presence, Andrea's presence here tonight in advancing this discussion. Climate change is real. It's having real effects both nationally, but especially locally in our community. The flooding in Downsview and Bathurst Manor that upends families, the heat waves that impact our air quality and health, and the higher energy bills for air conditioning and heating that extreme weather causes. I had the opportunity to march last week with our young people at the Climate March, to listen to them, because our young people, our youth, get it. They understand the problem. They know that their future depends on it, and they're relying on us. And over the last 4 years that I've been the Member of Parliament, I have undertaken to listen to our youth, to our seniors, to our families. That's my job. That's been my job as a Member of Parliament, to make sure that I'm listening and taking that feedback back to Ottawa. In 2016, I formed a youth council in York Centre. And in 2018, they held a summit at the Downsview Park hub there. We had over 100 youth come, and what did we hear was one of the top priorities? Climate change. We need to continue moving forward. Our government has done a lot over the last 4 years, but we're not finished yet. This election matters. This election is a choice between a Liberal government that believes in the importance of fighting and addressing climate change, and a Conservative party that would turn back the clock and undo all the progress that's been made. Thank you very much.
The first question deals with the issue specifically of climate change. Around the world, we are seeing inspiring examples of leadership to reduce greenhouse gas pollution and accelerate the shift to a green economy. At the same time, we are seeing a ramp-up of the effects of climate change, and the scientific consensus is that we have room for another decade to turn things around. We see extreme weather events across the country, including wildfires, flooding, and droughts. These are causing anxiety and worry, given their enormous financial and environmental impact. Per person, Canadians produce the most greenhouse gas pollution of all G20 industrialized nations, nearly 3 times the G20 average and over 20 tons per person. What are the key elements of an action plan that you will advocate for to ensure Canada meets its international obligations to reduce greenhouse gas pollution? Andrea, please answer first, please.
Our climate plan is the only one strong enough to meet Canada's obligations while putting Indigenous sovereignty, communities, workers, and families at the heart of our work. The NDP has put forward a bold and transformative $15 billion climate change plan that confronts the climate crisis. We will enshrine in law the right to a healthy environment. That includes land, air, and waters. We must also adopt science-based greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets for 2030 that are in line with stabilizing global temperatures at 1.5 degrees Celsius, and be accountable for meeting those targets. That means having regular audits. In addition, we are looking to adopt the United Nations Declaration of Rights on Indigenous Peoples. Indigenous peoples must have and be full and equal partners in tackling the climate crisis. They have been land defenders and land protectors on this land and globally since time immemorial. We are looking to also create good jobs, good paying jobs. We need a just transition for workers. In all communities across this country, we need to support our communities and workers and not forget that human dimension while looking to tackle climate change. We're making all new buildings in Canada net zero ready by 2030 and complete energy efficiency retrofits on all existing housetops by 2050. We're looking for a zero emissions vehicle on the road and electrifying our transit fleets by 2030, and also working on the infrastructure such as rails and ferries. The plan includes, once again, these major investments into low carbon transportation that is necessary. We will also work towards fare-free transit so people can use different ways to move around the city and country. We'll be able to work with our provinces, the territories, and municipalities, and we will definitely be eliminating fossil fuel subsidies and not letting big polluters get off the hook, and ensuring that the carbon tax, that big polluters are not exempted from that. We will have a Canadian climate bank, a bank that will boost investment into renewable energy, energy efficiency, and low carbon technology across the country. This is a multi-pronged plan, and we will ensure that it is prioritized.
Michael, if you could answer the same question, please.
Thank you. We know that the effects of climate change are real, and it's having real costs, nationally and locally in our community. Our weather is getting more extreme, with heat waves and once-in-a-century storms happening almost every year. We're not immune to the effects of climate change. It's creating real hardship, whether it's the financial and mental toll of flooding or the higher utility costs that are impacting our quality of life. As chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I led a study in Canada's Arctic, and I made sure it focused on the role that climate change is playing. We thought that study was going to be looking at just the geopolitical, the impact of China and Russia. But what we found out when we were on the ground, when we were up there listening to the Indigenous communities, listening to the people in Canada's north, was that it's the melting of the permafrost, the reduced sea ice, and the warmer temperatures that are impacting Indigenous communities most in the north. Canada is warming twice as fast as the rest of the world, and the Arctic is warming 4 times as fast. This is having serious consequences in Canada's north. Climate action can't wait. We've spent the last 4 years taking more action on the environment than any other government in Canadian history. We're committed to the Paris Agreement, and we further committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050. We've already put a price on pollution to fight climate change and put money back in the pockets of Canadian families through the Climate Action Incentive. Pricing carbon pollution is the best way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and stimulate investments in clean innovation. We've seen that in other jurisdictions. We've seen it in California, we've seen it in British Columbia, and we've seen it in Quebec. We're also implementing a clean fuel standard that will reduce carbon pollution equal to taking more than 7 million cars off the road. We're investing in clean tech so that Canada continues to lead on this. $600 million of investments in clean tech innovation. The Conservatives would seek to undo all this progress. Not only not continue to move it forward, but roll it back. And if you need proof positive that that's a reality, you just have to look at what's happening here in Ontario right now under Premier Ford. Non-stick stickers on gas pumps meant to vilify action on climate change. Court cases meant to challenge our price on pollution. This is what's happening now in Ontario under a Conservative government. We know what it looks like nationally should the Conservatives ever make it into power. Thank you.
The second question deals with the issue of water. Many Canadians know that our country has the longest coastline in the world. Less well known is that Canada is home to roughly half of the world's lakes and roughly 10% of the world's wetlands. Canada is seeing the impact that industrial development and climate change is having on our water resources. We are seeing the re-emergence of pollution hotspots like Lake Erie. And the Insurance Bureau of Canada notes that since the 1970s, there has been a massive 250% increase in natural disasters, including floods and droughts, that are likely related to climate change. What can the federal government do to work with different sectors, like municipalities and farmers, to reduce both water pollution and the risk of flood events which have been aggravated by industrial development and climate change? Michael, if you could answer first, please.
Thank you very much for the question, Adam. As Canadians, we know that water resources are the most valuable resource we have. We have the longest coastline in the world, and 1/5 of the world's fresh water. But climate change is putting it all at risk. As part of our Arctic trip, we had eye-opening experiences, and we saw firsthand the nature that climate change was having on coastal communities, both environmental and economic. We have to be vigilant and make sure we're maintaining our water resource sustainability. We saw the issue, we saw the impact of permafrost, we saw the degradation of Canada's coastline. We know it's having a serious impact. As a first step, we launched the Oceans Protections Plan, the largest investment to protect our oceans and waterways in Canadian history. We're supporting the Coast Guard to enforce environmental standards. We're restoring and protecting marine ecosystems and natural habitats. We're strengthening the polluter pay principle so that polluters, not Canadians, are responsible for cleaning spills. And we're doing this in close collaboration with Indigenous peoples and coastal communities to make sure we're getting it right. We're also taking action with the Great Lakes Protection Initiative to prevent the release of harmful chemicals, invest in research like restoring funding to the experimental lakes area that the Conservatives cut. And we'll create a new clean water agency to find the best ways to keep our water safe, clean, and well managed. In terms of flooding, we know the real effect of the increased number of climate-related emergencies. We know the cost of it locally. It has real impact on homeowners who get flooded year after year after year. Homeowners in the Downsview and Bathurst Manors communities come to my office all the time to talk about this. They can no longer get insurance. These have happened multiple times to these people all in the same area. We need to fight climate change, but we also need to adapt because the solution is long-term. We're prioritizing record funding for green infrastructure in things like flood prevention. We funded projects in Toronto to prevent flooding, and it's something I'm working on with our local city councillor, who has been advocating for this at City Hall, to make sure we're getting that funding up into our York Centre community. Federally, we're proposing a new national flood insurance program to help protect homeowners in addition to prevention. We know that we need to take these issues seriously, and that only one party, the Liberal Party, will do that when we form a government.
To tackle climate change, incremental changes to tackle it is not enough. Inadequate, mediocre plans are not enough. Plans that include pipelines that end up polluting our oceans is not enough. We will, once again, as Christine mentioned, we will enshrine in law the right to a healthy environment. Our federal environmental bill of rights will ensure that all communities can enjoy guarantees to clean water, land, and air. Justice for grassy narrows is a part of that. No one can be left behind. We'll create a national freshwater strategy. We'll work with provinces and territories to protect waterways, including under international law and agreements. We'll reverse the harmful changes brought in by the Conservatives, fully restore navigable water protections for all of Canada's lakes and rivers, and invest in research to support freshwater protections. We'll ensure and make investments required to ensure clean water and lift all drinking water advisories for good by 2021, and we will not mock or laugh in the face of Indigenous folks and activists as allies pushing for clean water for their communities. Conservation is a vital way to also protect ecosystems and preserve biodiversity. We'll protect at least 30% of our land, freshwaters, and oceans by 2030, and back those protections with funding and enforcement. We'll protect our communities from extreme weather and events like floods and forest fires, and our plan includes expanding federal funding by $2.5 billion. We need to respond to these disasters. They're a reality because we have left our planet behind for so long. We'll also sit down with provinces, territories, and local governments to ensure that disaster mitigation and adaptation fund meets the needs of communities, that is responsive and reflective of the needs that we are seeking to serve. We're looking to also ban single-use plastics. However, we will be excluding products that are needed for people with disabilities, such as things such as straws or medical supplies. We'll also put in place $40 million in coastal protection fund to clean up the coast and rehabilitate fish habitats. And we'll expand well-enforced marine protected areas and work to prevent ocean acidification and reverse the loss of coastal blue carbon ecosystems such as our salt marshes. We'll work to reduce emissions from shipping and fishing, and we'll ensure that these changes are done collaboratively. Thank you.
The third question deals with wilderness conservation. When asked what they love most about our country, Canadians often point to natural beauty, wildlife, and spectacular wilderness areas. Yet we are falling below our international commitments to protect these spaces, and our parks and other protected areas are not funded at the level needed to conserve the diverse plants and animals that live there. A recent study shows that 50% of Canadian wildlife species are in decline. 87% of Canadians value the emotional and physical benefits of spending time in nature. However, 82% say that they're concerned that future generations won't have close or easy access to nature. What will you do to protect the quality and quantity of wilderness in Canada? Andrea, if you could answer first, please.
So we need to transform both systemic issues and societal values that have worked to maintain a colonial view of land and see land and people as disposable. One of the most important things that we can do is to place in protections so the land can continue to heal itself. We're committed to protecting at least 30% of our land, freshwaters and oceans by 2030, backed once again by funding and enforcement. We'll protect biodiversity by using all federal tools under the Species Atlas Act and ensure the implementation of a multi-pronged recovery strategy. There's also other proactive measures that the federal government can take to protect our biodiversity, such as, once again, working collaboratively. and working with other levels of government to develop a system of urban national park to support conservation and preserve our natural heritage, to develop a national approach to tree planting using responsible reforestation to help lower our carbon footprint, as well as support the creation of indigenous managed protected areas to make sure that species recovery efforts uphold indigenous rights and embrace traditional knowledge to increase biodiversity. Once again, indigenous peoples of this land, originally known as Turtle Island, have been land defenders, land protectors, and with their indigenous knowledges, they know how to preserve, once again, our biodiversity. We'll expand the marine protected areas to protect ocean biodiversity and fight back against invasive species. We'll also ensure that, once again, big polluters are not let off the hook, that the super wealthy, that the biggest corporations, the biggest polluters pay their fair share, and that those revenues be reinvested back into our community and back into pushing for a sustainable planet for all of us.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you, Madam. Our natural environment is a source of immense national pride. Canada has a third of the world's boreal forest, 20% of its fresh water, and a quarter of all wetlands. Climate change threatens all of this. Global wildlife populations have declined by 60% in just over 4 decades. We need to do more to protect our natural environment. Since 2015, we've protected more of Canada's nature than any other government in Canadian history. We've made investments to protect Canada's oceans and wildlife. We've conserved land areas 3.5 times the size of Nova Scotia. And we've increased the amount of marine and coastal areas protected to 14%, up from only about 1% in 2015. Still, we have more to do to stop habitat loss, protect wildlife, and conserve more natural space. We're going to conserve and protect a quarter of our land and oceans by 2025, and a third by 2030. And we've seen once again that the Conservative governments do not care. They don't get it. The Ford government cut Ontario's tree planting program and is threatening the Greenbelt. And it took federal Liberal leadership to step up and take action and keep planting trees and maintain these programs that the Conservatives are cutting provincially and will cut federally if they form government. But we also know how important local green space is, and this has been a priority for me over the last 4 years. We're lucky to have Downsview Park in our community. For those of you that live locally, this has been a huge issue that I've tackled over the last 4 years. I worked to pause the development at William Baker, to preserve the woodlot and make sure that we weren't rushing ahead without community consultation on future development. And I'm proud that we're continuing to work forward. I see members of the community here tonight who are working with me on the seniors village, the seniors community at Downsview. We planted tens of thousands of trees at Downsview Park as part of the Highway of Heroes living tribute to fallen Canadian soldiers. Thousands of trees have been planted there. We're restoring and renewing our park spaces right here in the city, right here in our community. We opened the Sesquicentennial Trail at Downsview Park only maybe 4 or 5 months ago. This trail honors the Indigenous history of our area, and it's a wonderful, wonderful space where families are being welcomed in. So many families from the area. If you go there on a weekend, it is absolutely packed. New immigrant families, families that live in the area, people coming from all over the GTA to experience our community, to experience the open air in Downsview Park. Downsview Park is also one of the top ornithology places now in Ontario. We're seeing birdwatchers come in because they're being able to access our natural beauty. I am so committed to making sure we continue to move Downsview Park forward because it impacts each and every one of our quality of life. Thank you.
The fourth question is on the topic of pollution and toxic substances. Canada has made big strides to improve our health and environment by regulating toxic substances. Legal limits on lead gasoline, restricting chemicals like DDT and ozone-depleting substances. The Canada-US Acid Rain Agreement. and the phase-out of coal-fired electricity have had an enormous impact on our well-being by saving lives, preventing illnesses, and saving billions of dollars in avoided healthcare costs. However, air pollution is still a leading cause of death and illness in Canada. In addition, our laws and regulations have not kept pace with emerging threats from newer toxic substances in our environment, including from pesticides in our food and other harmful chemicals in everyday consumer products. Many of these substances have demonstrated links to cancer, genetic damage, developmental problems, chronic illness, and many other health effects. These effects are often more severe for children and other vulnerable populations. Our overarching toxics law, the Canadian Environmental Protection Act, has not been significantly strengthened in 20 years. What will you do to ensure that Canadians are better protected from the health and environmental impacts of toxic substances? Will you commit to strengthening the Canadian Environmental Protection Act and the Pest Control Products Act? Michael, if you can answer first, please.
Thank you very much. Over the last 4 years, as a Member of Parliament for York Centre, I've heard from people from across our community in the country that these issues matter to them. People care about what's in our consumer products and what's being released into the environment. As a Liberal government, we've taken real action in banning asbestos, which was an obvious and necessary step that the previous Conservative government refused to take. We've also taken action on reducing plastic pollution and banning harmful single-use plastics. We've banned plastic microbeads to keep plastic pollution out of our oceans and waters. We're supporting developing countries to develop and implement sound waste management systems and prevent plastic waste from entering the environment. We've launched an Oceans Plastic Charter at the G7, calling on national governments to set standards for increasing the reuse and recycling of plastics. And we introduced the first ever National Zero Plastic Waste Strategy with the provinces. We've committed to eliminating coal by 2030, something that will lead to a major reduction in mercury emissions, one of the most toxic substances. Our investments in green infrastructure will help reduce pollution that has made its way into our waterways. Our plan to ban single-use plastics will mean less microplastics pollution in our environment, water sources, and food systems. And we're committed to doing more to fight plastic pollution. We will enact new standards that targets for businesses to make sure they take full responsibility for collecting and recycling their plastics. We know that more needs to be done, and that's what we're planning on doing. Locally, I've been incredibly proud to work on the issue of urban agriculture as an example, and sustainable agriculture. I've worked at Downsview Park to ensure that there's more space for these types of projects, working with Fresh City Farms and the Black Farmers Collective to help promote and grow local initiatives that teach sustainability and grow fresh food. And I just want to comment that the Black Farmers Collective has been such an important local project for us in Downsview. Not only are they teaching kids and students how to value the land, how to give back, how to work the land, but they're also playing an immensely important role in some of the priority neighborhoods in this riding. They're working with kids that would otherwise be engaged in guns and gangs, and they're teaching them the importance of the work that they can do to contribute to the community. So I'm going to continue advocating for projects like the Black Farmers Collective to make sure they have more space and more resources, because they're giving back so much to our community.
I do just want to let you in regards to just ensure that folks don't equate blackness with always entering them. Thank you. Thank you. Just in case in regards to if folks understand that.
Yeah, it wasn't just black youth that were involved in that. They're taking youth in from across the way. Yeah.
So an NDP government will better protect Canadians from toxic substances and everyday products by reforming and strengthening the Canadian Environmental Protection Act and other legislation. As Michael had mentioned, there is a lot of plastic that isn't recycled properly, and when it doesn't decompose, it does break down into our food, into our waterways and oceans. Right? So we also, as the NDP, we will reduce exposure to substances, common plastic products, by, once again, banning single-use plastics that too often end up in our oceans. But our push, once again, for a ban on single-use plastic would exclude products needed for people with disabilities, and that includes straws as well as medical supplies. And so we know that there is also much work to be done.
Thank you very much. Those are the 4 questions that are being posed at each of the 100 debates. We now have an opportunity to take questions from the audience. If you have a card, if you can please give it to Ariel, who's walking around. She'll be collecting the cards.
So I can understand what's going on. Are the candidates debating, or is it just
the questions from the audience? Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer, and they can, at that point, they can debate one another, or they can answer how they wish. The 4 questions were provided to each of the candidates prior to tonight, so that they each came with prepared answers.
Thank you for that. Thank you for clarifying.
We just have 1 minute. I'm just going to go through them quickly and make sure that that the questions are relevant and legible. I'm going to alternate which candidate gets to speak first for each answer. And the first question, continuing with the same pattern that we have used before, I'll ask Andrea to answer first and Michael to answer second. How will we meet Paris Summit by the deadlines?
So definitely, once again, ensuring that our climate action plan is fundamentally following the science. We must adopt, and we will be adopting the science-based greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets for 2030. And will entail a multi-pronged plan, once again, that invests into our communities, invests into our workers, a just transition, because we need people to buy into a just, fair, and sustainable Canada and planet. Because without people actually voting for a government that will ensure that we'll meet those targets by following the science and by following those targets, we won't even get there.
Thank you.
Well, the answer is we can and we will meet the targets. We have an ambitious and practical plan to meet the targets, and in the past 4 years we've adopted measures that has taken us three quarters of the way there. We've got 11 years to deliver the rest. And some of the investments we're making now in clean tech, public transit, haven't even been included in the forward projections. Last week, we made new commitments to cut emissions even further, planting 2 billion trees and storing more carbon in nature, retrofitting 1.5 million homes. That's all part of us reaching net zero by 2050, but absolutely we are on track. There's more work to be done, but we are absolutely on track to reach the Paris targets by 2030.
The next question, Michael, I'll ask you to answer first. How will you involve youth in decision-making about the environment?
Can and have been. As I mentioned before, when I had the opportunity to go to the climate march last week and listen, not talk, but listen to the passion and the knowledge, the immense knowledge that our youth have. They know this issue. They know their future rests on this issue. And over the last 4 years, the Youth Council in York Centre, the work I've been doing in classrooms, I go into civics classes, and I'll tell you when I'm in civics classes, when I'm at Madonna High School, or Downsview, or North, any of the schools, the climate issue is the one that resonates the most. It's the one that generates the most passion. Our youth understand the depths of this problem, and they know that they need. I said this to the students that I met down at Queen's Park last week, and that is thank you. Thank you for pushing us. Thank you for pushing us. And I say the same thing to Andrea as well, because we've got 3 parties in this election that are pushing, and that's necessary. They are allies in the fight against climate change. But we have one party that is not pushing at all, and we dial it back. So I will continue the work I've been doing for the last 4 years to value the voice of our youth, to give them access to the process, to bring them in, to be inclusive, because we know that they understand, and we must take that knowledge and use it to move this file forward.
In regards to getting any type of political change, we know that that's fundamentally grounded in social movements. And for many years, youth have continued to be at the front lines, along with other people, pushing for changes, such as tackling climate change, for many years ago. So in regards to involving youth in decision-making processes, we're listening with them, we're creating with them, and we're listening to them from the get-go. That means not purchasing pipelines. That means ensuring that Indigenous sovereignty and self-determination is a must. Involving youth and decision makers means having them at the table where they can also co-create transformative legislation and enforcement. Because too many times, just because we have legislation, if it's not enforced, and if we have no tools to hold governments to account and accountable, it's just ink on paper. And so we need to also give tools where our youth and where communities can hold governments to account on their promises. And youth want to be involved. Youth have continued right now in regards to the climate crisis. They've been on the front lines. They want to be heard. They're tired of governments continuously, us going back and forth here in Canada and not getting any changes. We need to vote for a government that will tackle these issues along with youth and others.
This card has specifically asked that the question be put to Michael first, so I will do so. What is your understanding of environmental racism? What will your party and you do about this?
Environmental racism. We need to continue working and listening. And again, I want to go back to the trip we took to the Arctic, where we valued traditional learning and traditional knowledge from Indigenous peoples, where we listened and understood, and we reflected that back to our report to Parliament. And I think that's incredibly important. We need to, and again, I'm going to look at the work we're doing at Downsview Park, where we're continuing to open up that park to the entire community, where we're giving people possibilities and engaging them and making sure that it's a space that is inclusive and welcoming to, we talk about this area, we're here in New York Center, one of the most diverse ridings in the country. I'm incredibly proud of that. And over the last 4 years, I've gone, I've really made the effort to be open and to listening to people from every corner of the riding, to every voice. And I think that's incredibly important work. I think anybody that's running to be a member of Parliament in a riding like this needs to understand that experience. And certainly I acknowledge Andrea's work in this field over the last number of years. This is a riding that requires a great degree of inclusivity and a great degree of work so that people are feeling that they are part of it, that they're part of what's happening here, part of the future, part of what's going on.
Could you read the question again, please?
What is your understanding of environmental racism? What will your party and you do about this?
You didn't answer the first part. You didn't answer the first part. What is environmental racism?
I answered the question.
I don't think I want an opportunity to say anything else. Andrea?
I think when we speak about tackling, when we're actually talking about climate justice, we really have to understand that environmental disasters or climate impacts us not the same way, right? There is the reality of environmental racism that disproportionately impacts, and it tends to be lower economic, Black, Indigenous, racialized peoples. And so one of the things that ends up happening, like for instance, grassy narrows, right? And it comes with this colonial view as, in that example, seeing Indigenous peoples as unworthy or as not valuable, right? And so when we start to have this lens or view of people that they're not valuable, then honestly a government isn't going to necessarily put in the protections to, have a treatment center for folks who've been contaminated by mercury and not actually put the proper compensation. So I think in regards to environmental racism, that's why we need a plan that actually understands the nuances and complexities of people's lived experiences across all differences. Because when we push forward for a bold, transformative, and just Green New Deal, it has to be one that's for all of us and that doesn't leave anyone behind. And that means being aware of, once again, how does colonization impact our own experiences here on this land? And what does that mean with our own lived experiences, even though we know that climate change is an existential crisis for all of us, but how does that impact us differently on a day-to-day basis? Woo!
How does going ahead with buying and building the Trans Mountain Pipeline square with the serious climate crisis where we need to be moving away from our dependency on fossil fuels? Andrea, you can address that.
It doesn't make sense, right? Sometimes we go into this deficiency-based mindset that, we need to be able to, support this non-green economy to support to get to a greener future, right? And that's inaccurate, right? Those things are mutually exclusive, and in order to actually get to a fair and just Canada that is green, that is carbon-free, we cannot invest into pipelines. We're able to, support this transition into a carbon-free and green economy with good green-paying jobs. That means strengthening our unions. That means strengthening our pensions. That means ensuring that big polluters are paying their fair share, so that's reinvested into revenue. It doesn't necessarily correlate with pipelines or letting big polluters off the hook. $4.5 billion on a rusty old pipeline, and even to have to pay billions and more dollars that's looking to expand that pipeline, it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't correlate with listening to youth and listening to indigenous people that have been telling us to keep the oil in the ground.
So I know the decision to approve the Thames Mountain pipeline expansion was disappointing for many people. But stopping the twinning of a major pipeline will do nothing to stop people from using gas. But our climate plan will. We have to address the demand for fossil fuels and reduce our consumption and dependence on them, which is what our climate plan does. The emissions from TMX are already included into our climate plan. Alberta has a hard cap on oil sands emissions, a global first. Every dollar made from TMX will be reinvested into clean energy transition, like electrification projects, clean energy, and efforts to help Indigenous communities transition off of diesel power. Approving this pipeline was contingent on increasing our environmental protection through the Oceans Protections Plan to increase regulation capacity and hold polluters accountable. In order to transport oil, we know that pipelines are a much safer option than shipping them by rail. Blocking a pipeline wouldn't stop oil from moving. It would only increase the risk of a spill.
Yeah, I'll ask you to please be respectful of the candidates.
They should be respectful.
I ask you to please be respectful. I'm not going to debate you. The next question we have. So far, I've heard a lot of glossing over the difficult contradictions and trade-offs inherent in environmental issues. One of these trade-offs that Torontonians are familiar with is developing more housing, which will ease prices and lead to a more equitable society at the expense of opening greenbelt land for development. Please explain how you think about this trade-off. Would you consider opening up greenbelt land if it meant thousands more can afford a home? Michael, if you can answer first, please.
Sure. I think this is an issue that we deal with in York Centre and Downsview frequently. And I think it is a trade-off, and I can tell you that from my point of view, one of the things that I've done is to reach out to the community to make sure that we're consulting, that we're speaking to the local stakeholders. And this is something I actioned loud and clear from day one in my interactions at Downsview Park, making sure that multiple organizations that had been left out in the cold, that hadn't been consulted, that hadn't been talked to in terms of the impact of development, that they were included in the process. And I can tell you that the meetings I went to the year and a half, 2 years before I got elected, where there was literally tears and screaming and yelling at every consultation run by Canada Lands and Downsview Park, it was awful. And we don't have that now. We have a respect. We have respect between Downsview Park and the surrounding communities. And that's the tone that we're taking with projects like William Baker, which is the next major piece of land up for development federal. I know there's some municipal land that's up for development sooner. But that is the tone we're taking there. And it's the tone we're taking with organizations like the Downsview Community Voice, Downsview Community Association. And it's the tone we're taking with the York Centre seniors and many others. So we need to be valuing and listening to the people that are using the Downsview Park the most. We need to be understanding the trade-offs. And that's why we're focusing on affordable housing for seniors at Downsview. The project that was Stanley Green, we're still living that experience. There was a lot of turmoil in the building of those homes there. So I think we need to be very careful. I know the provincial government is looking to remove a lot of the zoning that's in place and open things up for development. I think we need to be slow and deliberate in our approach, and we need to always be ensuring that our local community has a loud and strong voice at the table.
I'm going to repeat the question. It was a long question, and I apologize to the writer of the question if I haven't read all the words properly. So far, I've heard a lot of glossing over the difficult contradictions and trade-offs inherent in environmental issues. One of these trade-offs that Torontonians are familiar with is developing more housing, which relieves prices and leads to a more equitable society, at the expense of opening greenbelt land for development. Please explain how you think about this trade-off. Would you consider opening up greenbelt land if it meant thousands more can afford a home?
For me, we don't need to sacrifice our green spaces to ensure affordable housing. With the NDP, we are looking to enshrine the right to housing in law. We're looking to tackle it and cool the housing prices by way of a home buyer's tax, right? Too many people outside of this country just continuously purchase a lot of housing, condos, apartments, anything, and that skyrockets our prices. And many times, these spaces are just vacant, right? So we need to put an end to speculation. And once again, the home buyer's tax will cool off the market and will input revenue that can be reinvested back into our communities. We need to ensure living wages for people. We need to ensure to strengthen our pensions, to strengthen workers' rights, to ensure that precarious employment, part-time employment, and contract employment is fully compensated. Because too many instances, people are not able to afford housing because of the type of system that our governments have created for us. So, once again, I don't believe in saying that we need to sacrifice our green spaces when we're especially trying to tackle climate change, right? We have to really be bold enough and reimagine that this is possible, because it is possible, with different government choices to ensure that we do tackle this housing crisis. It's not something that's new. We need to ensure that once again we create the conditions where all people can live and thrive, and that includes housing as a right.
Thank you. Andrea, I'm going to ask you to go first. What will your party do to fix our failing recycling program? Should companies have to pay for the cost of recycling their packaging?
I'm just going to be fully blunt and honest. I don't remember in regards to our platform. Yeah.
I think I mentioned in one of the earlier responses that part of our plan is that we're going to increase the standards to make sure that Canadian businesses are responsible for the materials they're putting into the environment. So it is something that's in our plan. In terms of the details of it, I don't have them at my fingertips, but I know it's something that that we are taking action on. Yes.
Let's get back to folks that folks are interested in that.
How will Canada work with the world to make the world pollute less and to carry the cost of reducing gas emissions proportionate? Yes, sorry, I'm handwriting it. Okay. How will Canada work with the world to make the world pollute less and to carry the cost of reducing gas emissions proportionately? Mike, you can answer first.
I mean, I think the proportionately part of the question, I'm not quite cluing into, but I think multilateralism is the answer. Multilateralism is the answer to Canada's role in the world, and certainly our role as an environmental steward. And we're very engaged with the United Nations. We're very engaged in other multilateral fora like the G7, G20, where obviously environmental issues are at the front, and where Canada has been a leader in moving environmental projects forward and environmental standards forward. So we're going to continue that work. We're going to continue the good work that we're doing through those organizations. And I think that answers the question. I'm not entirely sure about the proportion on that.
And also in regards to what Michael was mentioning, that this is not a local issue, right? This is a global issue. And so even understanding that, even if we were to, put in the best time, we need to have a leadership presence on the global stage. For instance, if we're thinking about the Amazon, and we're thinking about corporate social responsibility, one of the mining companies that's profiting the most off of, the Amazon burning in Brazil is a Canadian corporation, right? And so when we have to take an international leadership and collaborative approach with other countries to ensure that we are all pushing towards a greener planet. And that would be co-creating with other folks.
This next question is addressed specifically to Michael Levitt. Over 50% of mineral and oil extraction companies are headquartered in Canada. Right now, Canadian mining companies in the Philippines are displacing local communities and poisoning their land. When asked about this in 2017, you said that it wasn't a human rights issue, it is a trade issue. Will you propose legislation in the House of Commons on day one to ensure Canadian companies comply with the UN Declaration of Human Rights and operate to the highest environmental standards, and impose heavy penalties on the CEOs, assets, and long jail sentences?
Well, it's a good question. So, first of all, to clarify the quote that was in there, I did not say it wasn't a human rights issue, it was a trade issue. It was to do with the committee that was looking into this, and it was particularly looking in to the establishment of an office of international oversight for international resource organizations, natural resource organizations. So, Canada, we've actually moved that file forward. Our government has moved that file forward. We used to have an ombudsperson. We've now got a more robust system that absolutely Canadian companies should be held to account for the work that they do outside of Canada. And we've seen examples in other countries, whether it be Guatemala, Colombia, other countries, the Philippines, where that action has not been taken. And in fact, we had the opportunity to go to Guatemala and meet with a number of, it was one of the most important moments that I've had as a parliamentarian. And that was meeting with 5 women in Guatemala that had been just abused and really, I don't want to go into the details of what they experienced, but it was gut-wrenching, and we got to sit with them and just hear their pain. And we need to ensure that Canadian companies, and in fact we need to ensure that all companies, when they're in other jurisdictions, are upholding the standards. So the new office that's been created, it's been created through efforts of both government, NGOs, and business together, working together, but it also needs to have teeth. So the new system absolutely has more teeth and oversight than the previous one did, the ombudsperson, but we're not all the way there yet. And I know that they got a good chunk of that done through our trade, through our Minister of Trade, but there's still more work to be done, and I'm hoping that that's something that gets finalized shortly into the new mandate.
Andrea, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so in regards to, I think we have to understand as, people within communities that governments, whether it be by their action or inaction, that has an impact on people. It has an impact on human beings on an every day-to-day life. It also impacts our planet. Definitely increasing corporate social responsibility. I mentioned Colombia, my parents are from Colombia, and the amount of Black Afro-Colombians and indigenous peoples of that land that get murdered because of extractive resources and Canadian companies. And so it is in many countries, and this is something that unfortunately a lot of people that live in Canada are unaware of the atrocities that even Canadian companies, they're not upholding, as the question I mentioned, the UN Declaration of Human Rights, right? And when we see extractive corporations exploit people, it's not representative of, what Canada deems that we stand for. People do not in other countries see us as a benevolent Canada when they know that Canadian mining companies are displacing their indigenous and Black African peoples and are doing a damage to communities, whether that is polluting their water or displacing them off of their land. Yeah, we have to do better because we have to see people, whether they live in this country or not, as valuable, as worthy, and as more than enough.
This question is specifically directed to Andrea. You speak about how you will protect the environment, water, wilderness, but you don't elaborate on what that plan entails. Other than funding, what do your environmental conservation programs actually look like?
Yeah. So it's the water and wilderness. So in regards to water, once again, it is a national freshwater strategy that would be co-created with provinces and territories. So that full, plan would not necessarily be right away known because it is co-created with the standards that we need to meet these targets under international agreements as well. So that is a working in collaboration. In regards to conservation, once again, I would be working with municipalities, territories, and provinces to ensure that we do protect at least 30% of our land, freshwaters, and oceans by 2030, and ensure that we have accountability measures and protections so that there is effective funding, but that there is enforcement. In regards to the wilderness conservation, once again, it interconnects with the protection of land, and it also connects with ensuring Indigenous sovereignty. Once again, on the unceded territories, we need to ensure that Indigenous people take care of their land because they know what is necessary to ensure biodiversity and conservation of the land. So it is working in partnership with, once again, Indigenous peoples, provinces, territories, and municipalities.
No.
This is the last question then, and after the question, those questions have already been answered. So this is the last question. It's actually two questions, but I'm going to put it into one question. I'll ask it of Andrea first, and then of Michael. What mode of transportation did you use to get here tonight? And what do you personally do in your daily life to help combat climate change?
So today I use my parents' vehicle. We don't have a campaign office. We're underfunded and under-resourced with the NDP. So my parents' vehicle right now, we're using it as a campaign office. And was coming from the elections office for the meeting about the rules about the election. So came with a meeting.
And what do you personally do in your daily life to help combat climate change?
Yeah, so right now actually we're working with Candidates Toronto to get a Northworth chapter going here, and we're going to be ensuring panel discussions so that we can have folks across, whether it be York Center and the River Blackfeet in the North York area, because too many times youth involvement tends to always be downtown. In regards to times that I go to school, which is Oisey, easy, St. George subways, easiest connect. In regards to subways, also, not using bottled water. That's like the easiest one, right? That's like the easiest, changes that we can do. And thank goodness that I do have access to clean water, town water. Other things in regards to, I guess, a lot of things is not buying too many things. So like this capitalistic notion of continuously buying, and trying to produce as least garbage as I possibly can.
I drove here tonight. I did. It's interesting in setting up the campaign office. We've obviously become very attuned to the issue of disposable plastics and single-use plastics. I'm trying to live the water bottle experiment. I got one of those refillable bottles. But I'll tell you something else. I have two kids. I have a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old. My daughter is very environmentally driven, and there's no doubt. I think this comes back to the whole listening to our youth, because she is really the one in our house that keeps us in check about what we're doing in terms of being environmentally friendly and environmentally conscious. And I think that speaks to what we're seeing now. It speaks to the fact, again, we've mentioned it in 3 or 4 different types tonight, that our youth are really leading this charge. And I know there's times when I think about doing something, I'm going to do something, and she corrects me right away. So I admit, as an almost 50-year-old, 50 in 2020, I'm probably not as attuned as I should be. And I think, I want to relate back to the question about environmental racism for a second, because I listened to what Andrea said, and I don't think I do know enough about that. And I listened to Andrea's answer, and I'll tell you, it's going to make me think a lot more about this when I leave here tonight. So I thank you for that. And I'm sorry I didn't get a more complete answer. I probably...
Honesty is everything, so thank you for even saying that.
Thanks.
I appreciate that.
But I'm going to leave here tonight and reflect on that even more. That's a promise.
But moderator, I asked a very specific question that didn't get read. Did you edit out some of the questions?
I took the questions that were not relevant to the topic. I did remove from the questions. For questions that I felt the topic was otherwise covered in another question.
Well, my question was relative to the topic of the environment, and it was very specific in that what we have today in 2019 is as a result of only 2 governments, because only 2 governments have ever put legislation around this country for the inception of Canada. So what I wanted to know very specifically, and I think it is a mandatory question to be asked tonight of these candidates for this area, and that is, what will you do differently to Mr. Levitt and to Ms. Vásquez Jiménez? What is your party doing that's going to make things better? So really, I think it's fundamental, right? We have a history. The question was, why should we believe you now? Yeah, that was the question. Right? With all the promises, why should we believe you now? And the same goes to the NDP party. Why should we give our trust to you? Right? Because we, as the electorate, empower every single candidate who is elected to protect our rights and interests. And that's part of our rights and interests. These sweet babies here, their future that we're trying to protect, as well as our own.
I'm going to ask the candidates to deal with that issue in their closing remarks, because I'm mindful of how long everyone has sat so quietly tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Michael to give his closing statement first, and then Andrea, and then I believe there's a student who's going to do a thank you to the candidates when they're done. So please sit quietly to allow her to do that after the candidates are finished.
Yeah. So let me just address the question that was asked, and that was that in the last 4 years we have not broken promises. We've been moving this forward. We're not perfect. I admit that our plan for climate change has not been perfect and not without bumps in the road, but I have to tell you, it is the most action that's been taken by a Canadian government ever, and there's more work to do. There's more work to do, and that's work that I think I outlined in some of this. So we know that climate change is having a huge impact on us. It's affecting us nationally, but it's also affecting us here in York Centre. Our youth get it, The people in this room certainly get it, and we need to make sure that we keep a government in Ottawa that gets it. Because the reality is that the absence of the Conservative member, the Conservative candidate here tonight, should be a warning sign. Should be a warning sign about how seriously this issue is being taken by the Conservative Party, locally and nationally. And I know that those of you in this room care about this issue deeply. And I know that on the issue of climate change, while we may have differences in some of the approaches, I know that Andrea and the NDP, and I know that the Green Party are allies in the need to address and tackle climate change locally and nationally. We know that more needs to be done. We're committed to net zero emissions by 2050. We're going to phase out coal. We're committed to investing in energy efficiency and more clean energy across the country. But let's be clear, we face an important choice in this election. I tremendously respect the advocacy of my NDP colleague at the table. But this election, as it stands today, nationally, there's a choice between a government and a party that takes this seriously and will continue moving it forward, and one, and all you have to do is look at the example of what Doug Ford has done. One that will not only stop any progress, but will unwind it, step by step. They'll remove our price on pollution, they will continue to undermine and not acknowledge that this is real. And you don't have to look much further than what's happening locally and provincially. We can't afford another Conservative government moving us back on the environment. We owe it to our kids to make sure that there is a party in power that gets it and is going to continue working and moving it forward. There's one choice in this election, in terms of the current national situation, that is going to take this issue seriously, that can form government, and that is to vote Liberal. Thank you.
That's extremely a personal question, because I'm a bit embarrassed. I'm 33. I'm not embarrassed about being 33. What I'm embarrassed about is the first time I ever voted was actually only 4 years ago. Right? As a community organizer, frontline grassroots organizer, been very cynical about, like, oh, these politicians ain't doing nothing. Like, life on an everyday basis hasn't changed. We've only got, crises of inequality have just continued to grow. And it wasn't until, doing work around and pushing for an equitable educational system that I was able to work with amazing, wicked school trustees, elected officials, right? That I was able to see how we can work collaboratively with people who do see the vision. And so in regards to the NDP, I really would have hoped that there would have been electoral reform, and even with the NDP, when we've had balance of power federally, we've been able to push through Medicare, we've been able to push for parental, we've been able to push for a lot of these things that would not have been achieved if the NDP didn't hold the balance of power. And so, why trust us? I truly see a lot of folks who are running NDP. I've seen them on the front lines. I've seen them grinding on grassroots, front of the line, at those rallies, at those meeting tables, collaborating with community-based organizations, right? Living these lived experiences. And we're also, at the NDP, we're humble enough to say that our platform is also a living document. We're not naive to say the NDP is the all-knowing and this platform will solve everything. That's why we speak about collaboration and co-creating further, right? It's a living document because we know as things change, we need to ensure that we are holding up those standards. In regards to a living document, I think something that we also need is we need to elect folks who are courageous enough, bold enough, and once again have the political will to make those changes. These are people's lives at stake. This is our whole planet at stake. And we really just need to ensure that we are voting in people, Green New Deal champions, that will champion a bold Green New Deal that leaves no one behind. And also get involved. Maybe next year y'all are running also. Get involved.
Okay, thank you all again. Just to do that, why not? For coming out tonight, and thank you to both of the candidates for your incredibly passionate dedication and commitment to this issue. We really felt that from both of you. And Madeline, thank you so much for your wise negotiation of tonight's conversation. For the closing remarks, I'd like to invite up somebody who's really been a personal inspiration to me. This is Tanya Marcus. Come on up, Tanya. Tanya is our Minister of the Environment in the Student Council here at the Toronto Heschel School, and she has really stepped forward with her peers and at the school to advocate for thinking about the environment, thinking about environmental stewardship, and it's not always the most glamorous thing among her peers. You know, this position on the Student Council is not the most glamorous position, but she has brought her heart and her soul. And her Deputy Minister Bale has done so also, and their committee to do that. So they're amazing, and I'm going to let the youth have the final word.
Yes.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
My name is Tanya Marcus. I am a grade 8 student at the Toronto Heschel School and head of the Environment Committee. On behalf of the Toronto Heschel School, I would like to thank the candidates Michael Levitt and Andrea Vásquez Jiménez for participating in this engaging debate on this important topic. I would also like to thank Madeline and Sarah for moderating this debate and the audience for joining us and engaging thoughtfully and respectfully. Thank you. But please, don't go back home and pretend like you're done now. Like you did all you could and it's all going to be okay. These debates need to be stepping stones for future action. You need to act on your words. We simply cannot afford to not uphold promises at the stage we're at. So, I leave you with these thoughts, and thank you.